Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer and today I'm gamesplaining The River. The River is a Days of Wonder title from last year, 2018. They have traditionally only released one major game each year, so The River was their major game last year. I'm looking forward to seeing what their major game for this year is. I've found with all of the Days of Wonder games that I'm actually really enjoyed them. I haven't found a single Days of Wonder game that I've gone, they're good. They play nicely. They're not super heavy. They are intended as medium weight games, as games that will be kind of that next step for players. So you've introduced them to gaming, you go, this person likes gaming. Okay, let's try one of the Days of Wonder games. That is their intention. That's what they're there for. So, what that also means is that people who've been playing games for a while tend to ignore a lot of the Days of Wonder titles. And I suggest that we shouldn't be doing that. I think that there's some really good games there. I held back on getting The River for a really, really long time just because I was thinking, there's so many more heavy games for me to look at. There's so many more games of intrigue that I need to really get into and try out and see if I like them that I haven't got into the Days of Wonder one. I'm so glad that I finally got this one. This is a good little game. There are a couple of little elements that you kind of need to be really aware of before you start in order for the game to work well. The River is using something that a lot of games have started doing, and that's using double-sided boards. So you use one side of the board for a 2-player game, you use the other side of the board for a 3 or 4-player game. That way they don't need to worry about when you're playing 2-player games, don't use these spots. They don't need to worry about that type of stuff. It's a thing. That's been a thing for a while, but it feels like it's becoming far more prevalent. You can look back at older games and you'll notice there's 2 sides on the board, but it feels like it's becoming more and more of a standard way of doing games and a standard thing to look out for. And I really appreciate that. I really like that, especially as someone who plays 2-player a lot. It's a really worthwhile thing to have a separate board if your game requires you using different balances or getting the balance differently. What I found with The River is that you have a board that's your own personal board and it tells you can collect these resources. I think it's one of each of the resource types, and you can store one resource onto each of the little cabins. And the whole idea of the game is you're collecting resources, trying to store them to be able to create new things. Now, within all of your journeys, you can go and grab new tiles to put over the top of your board. So what you're going to be doing is covering up spaces that are pre-printed on your board. So you need to really be thinking about what's going to make that space a better space. If you're playing with someone who just goes, that looks good, I'll get that, that looks good, I'll get that, without actually thinking what's on their board, they're going to get into dramas. So understanding the necessity for storehouses as a starting point is really, really important. There are some cards that will come through that you're able to get that don't really add a lot of value to the spot. So they might have a picture of one storage on them. And look, that adds one storage, but if you're putting that over a spot that has one storage on already, that's actually adding no value to your board, to your player board at all. And having an understanding or a grasp of that before you start is actually a really important thing. I fear that with this game, it's a matter of you almost need to point out, hey, hang on, you need to get these things onto your board to make this worthwhile. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to build other buildings, and to build those other buildings, there's special cards that have a whole bunch of points on them. To build them, you need to have the appropriate materials. To get the appropriate materials, you need to be able to produce them. So you go to the spots that produce them, but you then need to be able to store them as well. If you can't do any of those elements, you're going to struggle. I found there's one of the elements that can be taken is a turkey, and it's basically a wild card. It's like this can stand for any of the other types of thing. They're worthwhile to get, and anyone can go there as many times as you like. It's kind of this worker placement thing where for most of the places only one person can go to that spot, or sometimes two. The turkey spot is kind of that last spot where anyone can go there, and just if you've got things left over, everything else is taken, go to the turkey, grab a turkey. The beauty of this game is that once an area is out, so all of the resources have been taken off that area, those resources are not available till they get returned. They get returned when someone uses those resources. But at the beginning of your turn, what you can do is take any 3 resources that you have and trade them in for a turkey. So you're saving some space, opening up some other space. You may have some resources you don't actually need. That's really cool. Trade them in, do that. And that little bit of nuance in this game actually makes it work really nicely and makes it work really well. So look, I think I'll leave it there. I really do like The River. I think it's a good game. I think it's a really good one for younger players or for players who are more getting into the hobby to have a look at. But people who've been around for a while, I suggest playing it. Have a play of this game. Get your hands on it. Get people around. Play it. See how you go with it. Because there's enough of a thinkiness involved in it to make it a worthwhile adventure. So look, go on, watch my gameplay, watch my Gamesplanation. Let me know if you have any comments or suggestions. If you have any games that you'd like to be gamesplayed, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.